All right, today's topic for why a lot of you aren't seeing the gains that you want to see is because a lot of you are afraid to step in the gym, or you don't want to step in the gym. Now, I want to start by saying that when it comes to people not wanting to go to the gym or not being able to go to the gym, there are a lot of reasons why that might be the case. It could be a time-based thing. Maybe you just don't have the time. There are some people who legitimately don't have the time to step into the gym, and so they have to do their workouts at home. Don't think that I'm coming at you, I'm not attacking you, but it is important that we discuss some of the logistics, some of the realities of this situation. There are some people who, maybe it's financial, they don't have the money to pay for a proper gym membership. And that, again, not attacking you guys either. I'm not attacking anybody, but again, it's important for us to discuss some of the logistics here, some of the realities involved in this particular decision, this circumstance that you find yourself in where you can't or don't want to go into a gym. If this is just emotionally based, if this is a fear thing, you should probably find your way through that. You should come face to face with that particular feeling and conquer it. First and foremost, there's nothing to be afraid of when it comes to the gym. There's no real anxiety to be had there. Everyone's there to work on themselves, to become their best selves. People will see you, yes, but the vast majority of people who are looking at you and thinking anything about you are probably people who are thinking, good on that person. You know, they're in here getting it, putting in work. You know, that's great. That's awesome. Good for them. I have never looked at anybody in the gym and thought anything but, look at that person getting after it. Good on that person, no matter what their weight is. If they're overweight, even more so. Like, I'm so proud to see people like that going in there and doing what they can to take their health into their own hands, make good decisions, make positive decisions for themselves, and change their lives for the better. Whether it be for, aesthetic reasons, they just want to look better, feel more confident, or maybe it's physiological reasons. They want to get their health in check and make sure that they're living the longest, healthiest, best life they possibly can. But I digress. If you don't want to go into a gym, you're going to hit a plateau, and a bunch of people who are doing home workouts, either you are in a plateau right now or you're staring down the barrel of one and you just don't know it yet. The reason for that is very, very simple. Progressive overload. It really is the fundamental basis behind which all progress is made. You need to be able to progressively challenge a system in order for it to grow. So, if you're working out at home, you likely have a limited range of both equipment and weight available to you. You're not working with commercial gym money, so chances are you don't have a weight stack that goes from 5 pounds to 120s. Am I right? Chances are I'm right. If that's the case, then you have to manipulate what variables you have at your disposal in order to achieve progressive overload, but there's a limit to that. Say you have weights that go up to 40 pounds and you're doing squats, goblet squats. Let's work with that. In the beginning, when you aren't very capable, you could do 10 reps at 35 pounds, and it's probably pretty challenging, especially at a full range of motion. The thing is, that's eventually going to become not so challenging, or at least not challenging enough to encourage growth in the system, in the muscles you're looking to grow. So what do? Well, maybe you can up it to 40 pounds, your limit now. Cool, so it's challenging again, but that's eventually going to become pretty easy as well, or at least not hard enough to achieve the goal of stimulating muscle growth. So what do? Well, you increase the repetitions. That's the next answer here. You can manipulate the weights, you can manipulate the reps, you can manipulate the rest time. So chances are you're going to manipulate the reps and you're going to put more reps in. But here's the problem. And anybody who knows about progressive overload and stimulus to fatigue ratios, you're going to already know where we're going with this conversation. You're eventually going to reach a point where the stimulus is going to be insufficient in comparison to the fatigue. Now, what we're looking for when it comes to progressive overload is we're looking for a nice range where you're getting great stimulus and the fatigue is just enough to be able to push the system, challenge it, but not make it so that it's impossible for you to recover from what you're doing. And that's the key here. If you can't recover from the work you're doing through your workout, it officially becomes a problem of being unable to put in enough work across a week in order to see optimal growth. And that's where our problem is here, because if you increase the reps and increase the reps and increase the reps, eventually the stimulus is insufficient, but the fatigue is super high. So the imbalance there is that you're putting in a lot of work and fatiguing yourself, but you're not stimulating the muscle very much. And so it's not growing, but you're getting tired and you need to recover from that. But you're recovering from something that's not really doing much for your muscle growth. And that just stacks and stacks week over week. Weeks of effort put in for minimal actual benefit. And that's where the plateau comes from. You're not able to put in adequate stimulus for the fatigue you're generating. And that's the problem with home workouts for the most part. If you have the money to buy like a big full setup, then yeah, great. You can have like all the weight progressions in the world and you're gonna be fine. But most people aren't working with that kind of budget space. So it's gonna be a problem eventually. Now there's also the problem, especially for people who are doing things like bodybuilding specifically, where you're going to need access to machines to do workouts on very specific muscle groups to develop weak points. See, that's the thing with bodybuilding. It's very much a game of strengthening your weaknesses so that you can improve one season to the next. Or even improve for your first season, be in a good place for your first season to be a success. The thing with the progress of a bodybuilding journey is that if you don't have the necessary equipment in order to specifically target the weak points you have, you're now at a disadvantage, a significant one, because you have to, MacGyver something together to maybe work, which might not be very optimal to get the job done. Maybe, the actual point of failure here is going to be in certain exercises, your lower back and not your mid back, or your grip and not your arms. The problem is we have the lack of equipment to target specific muscle groups to see growth in those muscle groups. And you want to be able to do that in order to strengthen those weak points and get to a place where you're able to really make your physique shine. And a commercial gym is probably going to have those things available. At least you have the ability to pick a commercial gym space that has adequate equipment to be able to do that. When it's your own home gym, you only have access to so much, again, unless you're willing to shell out large quantities of money for large amounts of equipment, which can be problematic to say the least. So if you happen to be at a stalling point for your workouts and you're working out at home and your progress has just hit a plateau, you have some options, but they're not great ones. One, shell out some money for some equipment, more weight, more plates, bar, more equipment, or step into a gym. It's pretty simple. That pretty much wraps it up for this week. Let's just finish the set. Rack it.